Hello everyone, and welcome to the second part in my tutorial series about Rayman Revolution speedrunning. If you haven't seen the last part, do watch that first, as I have explained some stuff in that video that I won't explain here, but it is crucial to the speedrun. Before we get into the all masks category, I'm gonna clarify some stuff from the first tutorial, but it's also useful for all masks. First, we will skip the Woods of Light and we will start at the out of bounds swim needed to get into the wrong warp. I noticed that people don't know where to swim and don't know how to clip, so I'm gonna elaborate a little bit more on this. Here you can see in slow-mo how I do this. I go down on the riverbed and then swim up against the wall in the corner. Then I tilt forward again, and that's how we clip. I also made a little animation from a side perspective so that it's even more clear. If you just stick to the wall like this, everything should be fine. Now for the swimming part. Try to keep the mountain shown here in the background on the right side of your screen while swimming diagonally. If you do this correctly, the level will load and you can enter the trigger. When you enter the trigger, swim over the floor as a walking animation will start, otherwise you might softlock. Now I'm going to give a brief explanation on how to save cancel, and in this case wrong warp. If you press yes on this screen, then no on the next screen, and then press X, you have successfully save cancelled once. If you would double save cancel, you would go to the Tomb of the Ancients, and that's not where we want to be. After save cancelling, just press no to start the cutscene. A quick side note. Japanese is the fastest language available, and Italian is the fastest for the Western versions. There are gonna be parts in this tutorial where I'm gonna be silent because you just have to follow the route that I'm showing. I won't say anything because I don't really have anything to add, but move diagonally. The goal is to go to the Lava Sanctuary, because for some reason getting the hover upgrade also gives us the ability to swing on purple lumps, double our shot power and triggers Bizet to be in the first overworld, which we need later. To get into the Lava Sanctuary, we have to skip the Pirate Factory. We do this by doing a diagonal PMS jump. To trigger PMS, we say yes, no, hold select and then press X. After this, press start. You want to go to the last save screen by saying yes, yes, select any random slot you want, and then you are on the last save screen. When you press left and then keep moving, the cursor will stay on yes, which we want for the diagonal PMS jump. You need to jump diagonally towards the electric gate to get the distance and the height that we need. On console you get a really big jump like this. Just keep hovering forward and I'll show you which to drop down. You need to get on this ledge, but don't be too fast about it because you might fall through the floor. And yes, this is an actual phenomenon. Now we jump diagonally over this gap to get into the Lava Sanctuary. Because the height of PMS jumps is way higher on console, I'm gonna explain how to do it on emulator as well. The the way to get the jump is the same on emulator, so just do what I just told you. You see here that the height of the jump is way less high than on console, so you land in the arena. Get on top of the barrel and do a very specific diagonal jump. If you do this correctly, you will land on the ledge and you will skip the Biditank boss fight. Let's get back to the Lava Sanctuary. The Lava Sanctuary itself is very straightforward. Just follow the route you're supposed to follow. You might see some lag in this area, which also happens on console, but I recorded this on emulator where the lag is slightly worse. Coming up is the only part of this level that's actually hard for me to do. The reason that it's so hard is that it's a gap that they took over from R2 and then redesigned with added details. The details can kill you, so that makes it very hard to do. My advice here is to go in fairly high. You should be fine then. Jumping here seems to be slightly faster, but it doesn't matter that much. The second level is still pretty straightforward. My only advice I have for you is to hold strafe or R2, as that gives you way more control over Rayman. Next is the first boss we will fight, Foutch or Foutch. You can do this boss normally by hitting the stalactites on his head. We do have a skip for this however, which saves about 30 to 50 seconds. The skip seems easy enough, but to get it consistent it might be good to follow my setup or a similar one. I jump here on the right of the web and reach for the edge in the corner. You pull yourself up through the wall and then the second part starts. You see, when you get behind Foutch, he will charge you no matter where you are, even through walls and stuff. To prevent this, hug the wall to the right side, as Foutch's AI will not see that you go behind him. He simply thinks you are doing the normal route. Drop down and you might see a bit of Foutch before he despawns when you get down to a certain level, so you can walk calmly to the trigger of the mask cutscene. After you've seen the Polycus cutscene, hold A while spiraling in the portal to skip the dialogue with the Teensie. We can actually go two ways after this point. We can go to the Stone and Fire Sanctuary or the Water and Ice Sanctuary. I personally go to the Water and Ice Sanctuary, so I'm gonna focus on that in this tutorial. Here we can skip another Teensie dialogue. By holding A again in the portal and then jumping and shooting at the exact frame that you land, you might get one enormous jump, which you can use to get out of the Teensie's dialogue area. Because the skip is frame perfect, you won't be getting it every run, so don't worry if you don't get it. It only saves about 8 seconds. Now we see that Bzit is in the first overworld, which we really need because otherwise we had to do the Bayou before we can go to the Water and Ice Sanctuary. For the next small trick that we're gonna do is we're gonna save cancel to skip the boat animation at the start of the Water Sanctuary. I always double save cancel because there are a lot of robots in this level and that gives you full health. The double save cancel works anywhere, but there are some levels where you can't do it because the level glitches out for some reason. I will give you a warning for the levels where you can't do this. Dodging these shots is actually pretty hard, so just practice on it and maybe you'll get it with the setup. In this next part we have to carry orbs and throw them onto the pyramids. You can kill these pirates first, which will free the camera later on, so it doesn't even lose that much time. I, however, don't do it because I think it's not as fast. Murphy will open up a dialogue when you get near the first orb. I try to jump to the orb, so the animation of picking up the orb happens in the dialogue. This saves only 1 second, but it's very doable and small stuff is important too. Don't forget to walk diagonally while carrying the orb. You can really feel the difference between walking normally and walking diagonally with the orb. Targeting with the orbs can be really frustrating, so don't feel bad when you miss it the first time. Now we're gonna open up the second door. The pirates will not hit you as long as you keep moving. And you can actually hit the door from pretty far, but be careful because walking through the door when you destroy it can be dangerous. You can death warp from it. Now we're gonna do the sliding section. The same rules apply to this sliding section as to any other sliding section, which means jumping makes you go faster. Though with this sliding section you can actually fall off, which is way worse than going slow, so be careful with your jumping. Now we're gonna do the second boss, Axel. This guy is pretty easy to beat, just swing on the purple lumps and dodge his icicle shots. We can actually skip him, but it's very hard to do and it doesn't save that much time, so we don't do it. After the Polycus cutscene, we need to skip the Clark cutscene. Do a diagonal jump off of this mushroom and try to get around this corner. Watching the cutscene doesn't prevent you from going on with the run, but it's just a big waste of time. Also, on emulator, you might softlock, so be careful. After skipping the Clark cutscene, we have to skip another Clark cutscene. Do this by walking around Clark here, and then walking to the end of this overworld. Once you're on this bridge, you have to jump around the door by jumping on this little ledge here, and then jump around. After that, just walk into the trigger. Clark Skip only saves about 15 seconds, but it's very practicable, so I do recommend it a lot. Do remember that we're going to the Sanctuary of Stone and Fire now, so we need to go down this cave and do a PMS jump. Also, you might want to double save cancel, because the next level is pretty hard and having more health is always a benefit. This PMS jump is pretty easy if you just follow my instructions. Just stand where I stand and then jump. After the save screen, you turn 90 degrees to the right and then keep hovering forward. You keep dropping down during this time because you are way too high up on console. On emulator this is way less of a problem, you can just keep hovering. Once you see the level, just navigate yourself towards the exit and you should be fine. The Sanctuary of Stone and Fire 1 is usually a really long level, but in the speedrun it's really short because of this fast clip. First you jump onto this pillar. After this you jump diagonally over the branch and then go back so you get clipped out of bounds by the branch. Once you're out of bounds, just move diagonally so you know you're gonna reach the end. The clip is normally really easy, especially on emulator and PAL. But once you get on NTSC or NTSCJ, it can be quite tricky. In the next level, it's really easy to mess up, and I'm gonna tell you why. You see, this level was designed in Rayman 2 to have the fire rate of Rayman 2. But in Revolution, they halved your rate of fire, and you have to buy an upgrade to get the normal rate of fire back. And because this level relies so much on your rate of fire to not fall into the lava, this can be quite tricky. Remember, if you do fall into the lava, you can just hover over the lava because of the upgrade we bought in the lava sanctuary. You will still lose like 20 seconds, but it's better than starting all the way over. So if you mess up, just hover to this green lump and then death warp. If you're at half health and these thorns keep popping up, you might lose some life, so this is why we double save cancelled earlier. This second lava section is way easier to manage because one, you're going way slower on the plumb, and second of all, there are less places where you can really mess up. If you do mess up, hovering is not that slow, so you can still do that. In this level we have to carry the yellow orb down with us. In all other versions of Rayman 2 we can skip this orb because it doesn't really affect any triggers. In this version, however, if we skip it and use our hover ability to go directly to where the mask should be, there's only a portal that brings us back to the overworld, so it doesn't count as collecting a mask. There isn't really any fast strat to do this, but I recommend throwing the orb directly onto the platform and not next to it. After you throw the yellow orb on the pyramid, a new passageway unlocks, which brings you to a slide. After doing the slide, the mask cutscene has spawned, so then we can go straight to it. I typically skip using the plum here, because you have to wait on the plum and we have the hover ability, so why not use it? The same rules apply to this slide as to any slide. Jumping makes you go faster. Though with this slide, it's slightly more dangerous because there are pitfalls everywhere. Better safe than sorry. As I said, just hover over the lava and don't forget to go diagonally. Now we are headed for the Iron Mountains, where our last mask remains. But first we need to skip a pirate fight that usually takes 5 minutes if you're using the best strats. So we're gonna do a quick skip that's really weird, so I'm gonna try to explain it. First you go to the skull cave, you hover up, then you land in the eye socket to your left. This eye socket is missing some collision in places, so you can just jump out of bounds if you're doing it correctly, mostly on the right side. You go forward a bit, then press right and down at the same time until you see the lums in your right upper hand corner. This is when you change your direction from right and down to right and up. We don't know why this works, but we are really happy with it because it's a really boring fight that takes a long time and a lot can go wrong. I'm gonna show it one more time because it's really weird. So go forward so you don't go back inbounds when maneuvering. Then go to the right, and when you see all the yellow lumps, then press forward and right. This will make sure you get into the trigger without fail. Now we're gonna PMS into the Iron Mountains. Do double save cancel here. This is very important because you can't do it straight before the Iron Mountains and it's a really dangerous level, so I highly recommend it. Now onto the actual PMS jump. You go in front of the door to the Iron Mountains and our goal is to jump over it. So just trigger the super jump, go over the mountain and then come back to make sure you don't miss the platform you need to land on. I suggest staying close to the wall because then you get more of a view of where you're going. Keep in mind that this is a pretty hard trick, so I advise you to practice it well. This level has a lot of pirates, but you need not to worry about most of them, especially if you double save cancel. The first one will maybe hit you, but he's not gonna be a threat. So if you didn't follow my advice and actually did double save cancel just before this level, then you won't be able to hit these switches, even though it's really easy normally. Not only that, but the end trigger to the next level doesn't exist, so good luck going to the next level. This pirate actually is kinda tough, and he's the main reason that I double save cancel when I trigger PMS. If you get hit once, it's really not that bad, and if you get hit twice, that's also still pretty good. You have enough life for this. This next pirate is also pretty tough, but you do have golden fists at this point, so he goes down in 2 shots. Now we're gonna do a tiny strat that saves about 1.5 seconds. If you've killed the pirate beforehand, it's way safer, so I do recommend it when you're starting off. As you can see, the wall is not solid, so just jump through and then hover to the tunnel. As I said, this strat doesn't save much, but it does look cool and that counts as well. For the next cutscene, it's really important to double save cancel. There's a boss coming up and you can't double save cancel before that one. This save cancel is not only used to get full health for the boss fight, it also skips a cutscene at the start of the level. This shell section is a lot of fun and can be done very quickly by going along the edge. It might take some practice to do this section consistently, but eventually you'll be able to follow my path. Now we go on to our final boss fight before Razorbeard, Golem 13. I don't think I have to explain much about him. You just hit the white clouds back at him and he gets electrocuted. Do this 3 times and he'll go down. I'll show a part of the fight to you in real time. Afterwards, I'm gonna speed it up because it's more of the same stuff really. The reason you can't save cancel before this fight is because the camera in this fight will be totally messed up and you won't be able to beat him. The last thing I'll teach you on this tutorial is how to hit the Razortrigger. First you get PMS, then you walk all the way over to a specific flower that I'm gonna show you. You should stand in this flower and face the mountains in the background. Once the mountains are aligned like this, you can trigger the PMS jump. After hovering for 9 seconds forward, or maybe 3 seconds after you reappear, you can let everything go and fall into the trigger. This is of course only my setup, so don't worry if you have a different way of doing it. It might be even better than mine. If you want a visualization of the Razortrigger, I put a link down in the description to Robin's video which shows it very clearly. So yeah, that concludes my video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in a next time when I maybe do all Teensies, but probably not. So yeah, see ya!